win back the White House. For more news from a Catholic perspective, visit EWTNnews.com. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie starts now.
Well, a good day to you. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, getting underway right here on EWTN Radio. I am Jerry Usher, along with Debbie Georgiani and you. We're so glad that you're there, and we have what we believe is going to be a very inspiring conversation lined up for our listeners today, Deb.
I think it's going to be a really wonderful conversation, but we need you to definitely share your experience of coming into the Catholic Church. Now, if you came in at this past Easter Vigil, we want to hear all about it. Your journey into the church, the people you met, the training you had, RCIA, everything. We want to hear the whole thing, and then what it felt like at the Easter Vigil. Did it feel like you thought it was going to feel? Was it filled with a ton of emotion? Okay, so we want to hear about your journey into the church and what actually prompted you to get on the road to come into the Catholic faith. So we want to hear that as well. And then we're going to open up the discussion a little wider. If you've come into the church in the past couple years, we want to hear about your journey. We want to know of our newest members, what makes you want to be Catholic, okay? And then you actually followed up on that. You followed through. And you came into the family. So if that fits you, call in 833-288-3986.
I guess to put it another way, if you are a convert to the Catholic Church, and especially recently, but it can go back a ways if you want, we'd love to hear what it was that drew you, maybe some of the obstacles. Often people would say the Marian doctrines or the papacy or something. Maybe for you, you had done all of that research, that homework, dealt with all those speed bumps along the way before, and then you just threw yourself into your Catholic faith. Whatever your story is, it will inspire people because, as we know, Debbie, you always say you don't have to be Catholic to call into the program or to listen to the program, but there are always non-Catholic Christians and people maybe of no faith at all listening to the radio here on EWTN Radio, and what you have to share could easily be the seed that is planted in somebody else's mind or heart. So let's fill up those phone lines, have a very uplifting conversation. 833-288-3986.
Well, Michael Birchfield, our producer, is at the controls. Jeff Burson's at social media. So if you'd like to make a comment there or tell us a little bit about the Reader's Digest version, obviously, of your story on social media, you can post it on YouTube or Facebook. You can also text us. You text the letters EWTN to 55000. You wait for a response and put your first name in, how you are listening, what radio station you're listening on, and then also leave your story there. Or you can email us at take2@EWTN.com. Now, keep in mind, we say this pretty much every show. We have to now because we're getting an abundance of emails. We love the emails. Jerry and I love the details. We love your stories. We love getting to know you better. But we're probably at a point where we're most likely we're not going to be responding back, but we read everything, okay? Occasionally, if there's something that is pertaining to something that's of an urgent nature or something like that, we will respond back. But if you want to leave your stories with us, we would love to read them at take2@EWTN.com. 3 lines are filled already, Jerry, but there's 3 more to go. So we need a full phone bank, right?
Mm-hmm. A phone blitz.
A phone blitz, yes, in order to start off this conversation. So if you came into the Catholic Church at this Easter Vigil or a couple years before that, we want to hear about your journey into the faith. Maybe you married a Catholic and they said, it would be great if you became Catholic. Maybe that happened to you. Or maybe you started reading and Lives of the Saints or something, or of church fathers, and you said, wow, this is really amazing. This is the abundance of faith. And you said, I got to learn more about the Catholic faith. Or maybe you have a Catholic friend who was a great influence. 833-288-3986. Many reasons to come into the church, but we want to hear your specific path. That's the key.
Well, Debbie, as we know, a lot of people will come into the Catholic Church in spite of perhaps a spouse who is resisting that or really doesn't want their spouse to come into the Catholic Church. A lot of people come in not only as an individual, but an entire family. So if you have brought your whole family into the church this Easter or any Easter in the recent years, that would be an amazing story to hear as well. So whatever the essence of your journey is, it's going to uplift and edify and inspire here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Our number 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
I wanted to say something funny like, cradle Catholics need not apply. Cradle Catholics is not for you today. These are for our wonderful converts that have come into the faith. We want to hear about the journey. I'm a Cradle Catholic. Jerry is as well. Aren't you, Jerry? You are, right?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Baptized at 23 days.
Wow, lucky you. I was baptized, I think, like a week later because my uncle did it. He did all the baptisms.
Sure. Yeah.
So did your uncle baptize you?
No, he was a missionary priest in Thailand, so he couldn't just dash home every time a new bundle of joy came along.
Not even for Gerard?
No, not even for me, but he did throughout the years of his ministry. He baptized over 3,000 people into the Catholic Church as a missionary priest in Thailand.
Wow.
He was in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Yeah.
Didn't you say they erected some kind of statue or something or a monument for him?
They did, actually, yes. My uncle was so revered that there is a lifetime statue of him in bronze at the catechetical center that he started, the Hmong Center. He administered to the Hmong refugees from Laos and Cambodia. And wonderful man. But, he brought a lot of people into the Catholic Church.
And that was your mom's brother?
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, well, we want to hear about your journey into the Catholic faith. So there's a couple phone lines open. If this pertains to you, if you're sitting there going, well, I could tell my story of why I came into the Catholic Church, especially at this Easter Vigil, we'd love to hear from you. 833-288-3986. We're not going to put you on the spot or anything. You share whatever you like. It's a very comfortable setting. This is a wonderful worldwide safe platform to share. This is where the faithful speak. And we learn and we grow together. So don't sit this out. Don't pass this by. This is your chance to share your story with the world. 833-288-3986.
Well, there could very well be some unique details as part of your story because of the COVID situation. It has been obviously not business as usual in terms of ministry and programs like RCIA and religious education and so forth. So maybe if you've got some thoughts to share about becoming a Catholic in a social distancing world that we live in, a mask-wearing world, this is very, very different than usual. But we know that you're going to take this show and run with it. You're showing that already. Just one phone line open. Who wants that one? 833-288-3986. Your story about coming into the Catholic Church, especially if it was at this year's Easter Vigil.
From continents, countries, and cultures around the globe, Brian Patrick and a panel of international contributors showcase the universality of Catholicism and the vital issues affecting us all.
Anytime I can do a television show where I can learn more about my faith, that's a plus for me and hopefully for each of our viewers. We're all one church, but there are many aspects of our Catholic faith.
Encounter the transforming truth of the Catholic sphere on the Global Catholic Network, EWTN.
The EWTN home video highlight for April is Hope to Die with Dr. Scott Hahn and Rob Corzine. Dr. Scott Hahn and Rob Corzine explore Catholic teaching on death and the resurrection of the body, helping us to look forward with hope to eternal life with God. Order your DVD set at EWTNRC.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or call 1-800-854-6316.
Take Two, family. Did you know we have a book and fellowship club? Log on to standtalltoday.com and click on the book club tab to join us. Each month, our facilitator Gigi picks another must-read book. We gather on Facebook at the end of the month to share our thoughts and reflections. Plus, there's great fellowship throughout the entire month. Join the Inspired by Faith Book and Fellowship Club today at standtalltoday.com. Just click on the book club tab at the top of the page. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to share your journey into the Catholic faith, the family, welcome home. We would love to welcome you by hearing your story and honoring you for making that journey. I think it's incredible. So if you have something to share, please do so now at 833-288-3986. Ryan Penny is waiting to answer your call. He's got his hand right on the handset. He's so quick, and he'll talk to you for a few minutes, put you on hold. You get to listen live, and you'll jump right in to the conversation. Jerry, would you do the honors? Because somehow my screen is jumping all around about this wonderful promo for Mother Angelica answering the call.
Sure, yeah. It's a new program on EWTN Radio tomorrow night at 8 Eastern Time. Mother Angelica answering the call. Father Joseph Mary Wolf and Doug Keck, they will mine decades of phone calls answered by Mother Angelica. So many of them that you might remember and be inspired by. Mother, of course, dishes out teaching, advice, laughter, and plenty of prayers as she takes calls from her family. No subject is off limits and no problem too big for the wisdom and compassion of the one and only Mother Angelica. A special preview of Mother Angelica answering the call is coming to EWTN Radio on Mother's birthday tomorrow. That's tomorrow, would have been Mother's birthday. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on most of these same EWTN stations.
Oh, I'm totally going to be listening to that. That is so cool. I can't wait for that. Okay, Pamela is up first, and Pamela is calling from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, listening on Sirius XM 130, and is a first-time caller. Hi, Pamela. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling
You're very
in
welcome.
and being early. We love the ones that jump in early and get us started off right.
Well, it seemed relevant that you wanted someone who just got confirmed on Easter Vigil. And I'm 71 and a half, and it took me all this time to finally make the decision that I wanted to be a Catholic all my life, and instead was an Episcopalian and found it to be watered down. And I just have been toying with it, and I guess you'd say I'm a cradle Protestant. And I finally made the decision. I felt that God was calling me. And at first it was an intellectual approach about 6 months ago when I joined RCIA. And then it became a really spiritual approach. And I am so thankful to God that I have done this. I can't be happy enough.
Wow. Beautiful call, Pamela. Thanks for joining us. And, as you were talking about your age and, saying, I think you said something like it's something you should have done a long time ago and so forth. God's timing is perfect. And I immediately, my mind went to that parable of the workers in the vineyard. And you'll know the one I'm talking about. Some come in and they start the workday, right on time in the morning at the starting time, and others at various times during the day. They all get the same pay at the end of the day. That's what I love about our God.
Pay, right?
Yeah.
I actually thought of that. It's funny that you mentioned that. I actually thought of that when I was starting it. As it turns out of the 9 of us in the RCIA, there are 2 other people at my age range who had similar, interest in becoming a Catholic. I wanted to be a Catholic from the time I was a little kid because my mother converted to Protestant and was an Italian, and all my relatives were Catholic, and I felt sort of cheated because I wanted to be a Catholic. And then in college, I did some time with a priest, thinking that maybe this was time, and then I got to transubstantiation, and I couldn't get through that. And then in medical school, I did it again, and now, after 40 years of being an Episcopalian, I said, something's missing. This isn't right. This is watered down. This is not God's church. And I can tell you that I'm just so enjoying my reading, and I've read, I bet you, one about the 16th book. Started with Rome Sweet Home, and it's a great way to get interested in the Catholic Church with Scott Hahn's book.
Oh yeah, definitely. Pamela, let me ask you this question, because a lot of people are hesitant to sign up for RCIA. Can you share a little bit about your RCIA experience? I'm sure it was, you said there was 9 other people, so that must have been a wonderful group, to journey together.
It was, and I started a little late, but I'm baptized, so I could start a little late. I started in November, at the end of November. So I got to go with the right of election and all that stuff. I didn't miss any of those big milestones. But and then during COVID, of course, we've been wearing masks, and we had two of the 9 members got COVID. I don't know who, because it's private. And then we did some, online Zoom calls. But it's been wonderful. We've become a very kind of tight group. And
nice.
My husband will never be a Catholic. He is anti-Catholic. And it was really a tough thing, and that's probably why I waited so long, because I finally said I have to do this. And so far, he supported me, and he came to my confirmation. So that's a good sign.
Good. And Pamela, you know what I just love about what you said? This idea, first of all, we want to say welcome home. Welcome to the family, and that's such a beautiful thing. But I love how you said you always knew when you were young that you wanted to be a Catholic. And it's interesting because they say that when people actually do make that first step into Catholicism, they do have this feeling like they're actually home. They have this feeling inside of them like, okay, this feels right. Was it that way for you?
Absolutely. And like I said, I've been kind of telling my husband this is something I want to do. And finally he said, well, you have to do what you have to do, And so I said, okay, at 71 and a half, I am not waiting any longer. And I just made the phone call. I got involved immediately. That Sunday, I went to the rite of whatever it was, sending or election. I can't remember which comes first. And finished up, and we're still meeting for, it's mystagogy. We're still doing that every Thursday night for a couple more nights, and then we're done. But I've just loved everything about the church, and I've gotten to the point where I've done so much reading on transubstantiation that I absolutely do believe that it's God's presence in those species. I definitely believe it, and I feel it.
Yeah, well, never say never about your husband, Pamela. Seriously, we hear so many times if one spouse comes into the Catholic Church, the graces start to flow not only in that spouse, in this case you, but through you. Your home now is going to be much more grace-filled when you talk about receiving the sacraments, and if you have sacramentals and things like that. The fact that your husband was okay with you doing this, he came to your confirmation, I see those as good signs. Lots of great seeds are planted. Just pray and hope, and don't worry, as St. Padre Pio says, and I think everything's going to turn out fine. Thanks, Pamela, for the call. We appreciate it.
Real quickly, I forgot to mention this. Eucharistic Miracles, you probably know of the book, Pamela, Eucharistic Miracles by the late Joan Carroll Cruz. She did a fabulous job talking all about the documented miracles that have happened with the Eucharist. So Eucharistic Miracles. And I agree with you, Jerry. Never say never on it. We hear of so many stories where, it just, it's such a beautiful thing when one spouse comes into the church. It kind of just overflows over to the whole family and extended family, right?
Right, absolutely. Thanks again, Pamela. Appreciate that. A lot of people waiting to share their testimony of coming into the Catholic Church. If it was this Easter season, we'd love to hear that, and how still, you're still on that spiritual high that Pamela was talking about. 833-288-3986, which, by the way, is a great gift from God. I always compare it to the Transfiguration, when Peter, James, and John went up the mountain with Jesus. Jesus gives us those beautiful, euphoric, spiritual moments, and I'm sure coming into the church must be one of those. So let's go to Mo in Craig, Colorado, a first-time caller listening on EWTN Radio. Hi, Mo. Welcome.
Thank you, and God bless you all there.
Thanks,
you too.
Mo.
I guess I should just start.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Well, my husband and I were married clear back in 1970. We've been married 50 years now. But when we got married, my family, he had never been baptized into any church. My family, I had one aunt that said I couldn't marry him because he wasn't Catholic, because that was a different time period. And then my husband's mother was very anti-Catholic. And so when we went in to talk to the priest before we got married, she said, make sure they don't make you get baptized to marry her. And so he was very staunch about that, but he did concede that we would baptize our children. Well, as time went by, we were married. We had celebrated our 20th anniversary, and my son at that time was about 12. And he just kept, I'd always made a promise to myself I would not ever push my husband or force him. It had to come from his heart and his soul. And my son, our son, kept saying, Dad, you need to get baptized. Because Richard would go to church with us, but he wouldn't make that last step. I think he was afraid his mother at that time would be upset. But her and I got a beautiful relationship through the years. And so he did he'd had a really medical trauma, and we got through it. And he came to me right after that, and he said, I want to join your church. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yes, I do. Because the priest there would come and visit him because he was in a critical care unit. And the priest would come and spend time with him, and I think that was just wonderful. And so he ended up getting baptized on Easter. All my family came, and we're now married, going on 51 years, and that was right around our 20th anniversary. So he's very devoted. He's very devoted now. And we say the rosary with Mother Angelica and her nuns every night on EWTN's TV station. So it's just been beautiful, and it's been a miracle. So because he was very anti it, but I never pushed because it has to come from them.
So you heard Pamela say,
their free choice.
Yeah, you heard Pamela say that she thinks that her husband would never become. So that here's living proof that it happened in your relationship, right?
I thought that too when I was waiting to share Richard's story. He's just kind of shy, so he didn't want to talk.
Oh, well, tell him thank you for letting you share it for him. But you know what's so beautiful, Mo, if I may comment first about what you said. A couple things. You said you were never going to push. It had to come from him. And I think that is a beautiful thing, because we all need to be on our own journey, of faith and our relationship with God. And, to be forced into something or pressured is not the best way to get started. The other thing that was so beautiful is your son making those comments to him. We have found over the years in religious education that a lot of kids and adult children tend to bring their families into the church, especially if they are practicing. And it's a beautiful thing to see the kids leading their parents deeper into faith. So, wow, what a beautiful story. I love your story. What do you think, Jer?
Well, I think it's absolutely beautiful as well. And what comes to mind, Mo and Debbie, you probably heard this little poetic thing before. It says, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back to you, it is yours. If it doesn't, it never was. Now, that doesn't apply to you letting your husband go physically, Mo, but spiritually. You had to let him go. You had to say, like you said, I'm not going to push. I'm going to let God do whatever he wants to in his time. And see, then that when it comes back around to you now, like it has, now you were sharing how beautifully united you are in the faith now and how wonderful that is for your family. So, yeah, I do hope that Pamela is still listening, and because Mo, she got a great dose of encouragement from you. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, thank you both so much. It was really phenomenal. It really, my whole family, except my mother, she'd already passed, but all the rest of my family was there for the baptism. So, and they had to travel, amazing. But it was a wonderful Easter celebration.
Oh,
so,
yeah. And you said your husband's
really blessed.
You said your husband's name is Richard?
Correct.
Yeah, please tell him, please share with him, welcome home, okay?
I sure will, dear. And, I always feel it has to be their choice, because what graces are they going to get if you fight with them all the way there? You just have to pray a lot.
That's right. How many people have been pushed away from any possible interest in becoming Catholic, or following Jesus or what have you, because there were people just pushing. And you did just the opposite, Mo, and look what happened. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast today. We appreciate that so very, very much. Beautiful testimonies, Debbie. We've got a couple of phone lines that are open right now. We'd love to hear from some more people with their stories of coming into the Catholic Church.
And we're getting text messages coming in for Pamela. Pamela, I hope you're listening. We've got the Take Two family are stepping up and saying, Pamela, never say never. Pray to Our Lady. Pray to Our Lady and ask Our Lady to just, assist with everything. So it's interesting, Pamela. You got the whole Take Two family praying around you that your husband may be open to it. I love it. I love the Take Two family.
Absolutely. Here's the phone number. If you'd like to get on board, we're asking you if you became a Catholic at this year's Easter Vigil just a couple of weeks ago. Love to hear your testimony. Maybe it was more years ago than that, but it's still very fresh and you're still very on fire about the decision to come into the Catholic Church. 833-288-3986 is the number. We're hearing from people on social media as well. Dominic is watching the video stream on Facebook. Hi, Dominic, and everybody there. Dominic says, I was baptized Catholic and almost left. I ended up staying when I came across the early church fathers and their writings. Yes, how many people have stayed in the Catholic Church or come into the Catholic Church because of the early church fathers? 833-288-3986. Join us on this Monday broadcast.
Mother Angelica, Scott Hahn, Father Wade Menezes. You'll hear the leading Catholic voices on the largest Catholic media network in the world. This is the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
St. Alphonsus Liguori made a vow to never waste time. He was a bishop, he oversaw a religious community, and he served people in need. He wrote about 60 books, and he'd write those books in little half-hour increments when he had the free time to do it. But for all his busyness, he would drop everything if someone needed to talk to him. And not just people who were a big deal, but anybody. And he'd have no problem spending an hour or two with somebody who just came by and needed his help. You see, he never saw wasting time on people as a waste of time. What a beautiful thing. I'm a really driven guy. I'm always going to the next task, the next project. I need to remember to stop. If somebody comes to my door, if a kid wants to talk to me, if a friend wants to chat, people come first. That's how Jesus did things. He didn't just preach to large crowds. He always had the time for the one, just like he does for you. Do you make that kind of time for people? This is Chris Stefanik from Real Life Catholic.
She was a mystic and reformer who died at the age of 33.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
St. Catherine of Siena accomplished something no one thought possible. She convinced Pope Gregory XI to return to Rome after the popes had lived in France for almost the whole of the 14th century. They've been there ever since.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
Tomorrow on More to Life, First Impressions.
Are you dealing with social anxiety? We're going to help you find your confidence.
That's tomorrow on More to Life. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Came into the Catholic Church during the Easter Vigil this year or a couple of years before that, we'd love to hear your story because we want to know what it took for you to make that decision and then the path into the Catholic faith. We are a family, so we like to know all the details, right? If you belong to a family, you know that, right? Your sisters and brothers call up and say, give me the details. We want the details here on Take Two. Number to dial is 833-288-3986. Back to the phones we shall go, and Serena's been waiting patiently in Woodstock, Georgia, listening on our friends at The Quest, and is a first-time caller. Hi, Serena. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there, Serena.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Just
Hi.
fine, yeah.
I am just turned 70 last week, and I married a Catholic 40 years ago. We had a Monsignor. I was a Baptist, and I was a deacon, ordained deacon, and we went through counseling with the Monsignor and with the Baptist minister. And we went to marriage encounter, engaged encounter, excuse me. First we did engaged encounter. And I was it was just such a amazing experience. It really made our marriage it's worked for 40 years. We had 3 children, and they were all baptized in the Catholic Church, but mostly raised in the Baptist Church. And through the years, I've always been a very devout Christian, read the Bible, studied the Bible, and I love church music. And so this last year with COVID, we were all kept from church. The Catholic Church started back first. And so all through our 40 years, we've been to both churches with each other. He would support me, I would support him. We'd go to his church when we were first married, and then we'd go to my church after that. So we were double churched on Sunday. And this past year, there's been a lot going on with the Protestant churches, and I've been real upset with all the changes, the social changes that are going on everywhere, plus all the changes in the music. I like modern music, but I don't like it at church. And so I started going to choir with my husband last summer in June and July, and they do sacred music at traditional church music at the 9 o'clock. And I just kind of got involved slowly, and I thought, I'm just going to take RCIA and see if this is really what I want to do. And after I got into RCIA, it was wonderful. We had 13 people in our class, and I was already baptized, so I didn't have to go through baptism. But it was just a wonderful experience since last September until Easter, every Sunday. And I really studied and threw my heart into it, did all the readings, and really decided I was going to delve into it to make sure that's what I wanted to do. And so I did. Wow. And I loved it.
Congratulations.
What I love is the faith and the history of the church, and how the church has not changed because of social issues. The church has remained true to God.
Right. We never waver, which is a beautiful thing about the Catholic Church. But Serena, I have a couple of questions I'd love to ask you. I'm very curious. Being you were a deacon in your Baptist community. How was that making that transition into being a Catholic faithful? Was that hard to do? Was it easy? And then also a 2-part question, Serena. Actually, I've got a lot of questions for you, but here's just 2. Was the Blessed Mother at all a stumbling block? Because I hear that a lot from our Baptist brothers and sisters, that the Blessed Mother, they can embrace a lot of the church's teachings, but when it comes to the Blessed Mother, they struggle a little bit. How was that for you?
Well, my husband and I used to banter about worshiping idols, but it was jokingly. We were always very loving with our relationships with our churches. But the description when we discussed this, the Marian stuff at RCIA, it was told to me the story that when you go to visit someone's house and you walk in the front door and their mother greets you, or their mother is there, you don't just walk up and go up to your friend's room and not talk to them. You greet your mother, because she is welcoming you into the home. And so I thought, that's kind of that's the way Mary is. She welcomes you into her home and the home of the church and the home of Christ. And I just looked at it as it just kind of changed my whole viewpoint of Mary into the actual mother of the church. Beautiful. And as far as my other Baptist friends, I haven't been very close to a lot of them because of COVID. And we had a split at my church, and most of my friends left and went to another church. So it's just been a real searching couple of years for me, and this is where I landed.
Wow, blessed be God. Serena, thank you for sharing from your heart. You can hear in your heart that this is just such a great milestone and a great step for you, and I'm sure it is for you and your husband as well. And another analogy that I had heard once regarding Mary is like a person doesn't go into an artist's workshop and just walk around following the artist all around, staring at the artist, he's going to go, well, I'd like you to look at my creations. Look, he wants to be known for what he created. And it's kind of the same way with Jesus. He delights in us looking at his Blessed Mother and all of the saints and really all of creation and everything that he has created. Excuse me, he is glorified by that. So I'm glad that you had that wonderful means of getting beyond the whatever obstacle that might have been for you with Mary. Real quickly, the other question Debbie asked about setting aside your ministry in the other church as an ordained deacon. How did that go for you?
I was not involved at the church I was in currently with my deacon ministry, so it wasn't hard to, and I had a lot of knowledge, like church knowledge and knowledge of the Bible through many years of Sunday school and teaching children and everything. So it really was not an issue.
Okay.
I just feel like I've gone further in my faith.
Right. Well, and the reason why I chose to say congratulations, Serena, because I love when folks come into the faith and they embrace and they dive in and they dive deep and they absorb everything. It's a beautiful thing, because that means you're taking in everything. And that's what you want to do in the Catholic faith, because, we look at it as it's like the full toolbox, the Catholic faith is, right? And, if I handed you, if I handed you a toolbox, right, what would you do? You'd open it up and you'd see all the parts and all the different tools and everything. You just go around and look at everything. You wouldn't just say, oh, that's a toolbox, right? You dive in and really explore. And I love how I could hear in your words that you have really allowed it to just rain on you in such a beautiful way. And I think that's wonderful. So I say congratulations again and welcome home.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Have a blessed day, Serena. Thanks for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Debbie, I know you share this. I have never heard a person who has come into the Catholic Church from another Christian tradition with any bitterness or anger or anything about the church that they had been in, maybe raised in. They all say, it's just like Serena kind of hinted there. It's sort of the fulfillment, Right. There are so many beautiful elements, scripture and praise and good preaching and all of that. This is a show like this is not to knock any of that at all. It's simply to say that, there is a kind of a fullness of all of this. Like you're talking about that toolbox. You want to have all of the tools. How would you like to go to change a spare tire and you don't have a jack or you don't have a lug nut wrench or something,
Right.
So.
Right. No, it's so true. I just love the calls today. This is a very healthy and beautiful discussion. I hope we're all learning and growing as we listen to these wonderful stories. Can we go back to the phones, Jerry?
Yeah, Teresa is next in Boston, listening on the Station of the Cross. First time calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Teresa. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
So I've had a very long and I would say extremely unique journey with my spirituality. I'm grateful that you're opening the lines to Christians in general, not just Catholics. I'm still learning a lot. But mostly this past year, I've learned an incredible amount of spiritual wisdom, mainly because I asked for it. I will say I was born into the Catholic Church and baptized. I experienced a supernatural thing when I was a child and had some trouble staying connected to the faith. Very, very strong Catholic family. And then I messed around with the Ouija board once in high school, and apparently that changed the course of my life in many ways that I wasn't aware of until a couple months ago. And it was just like one time, no candles, no seance or anything, it was daylight, something so seemingly, innocent can change the whole trajectory of your life, and you don't even realize it. And I wasn't confirmed until college, and then I regained myself and my soul. And then I kind of relaxed again. And then I became non-denominational Christian in my late 20s. And all of a sudden, like, I had the most amazing miracles happening to me. I felt this radiant glow around my crown. And that stayed with me. And I guess I had so much faith in just, I had a constant peace. People would say that I had eyes that led to my soul. And then anger got the best of me, because apparently that Ouija board, there's when you have these weak moments, those entities find their way into the little cracks when you have when you're sad over, romance or something like that. They know your weaknesses, and that's when they go after you and can really change your life, and they watch you. So you can be in a beautiful place, everything's going great, and then when you have a moment of weakness from something you did years ago, you've opened a portal. And so it's very important to ask that God close any unnecessary portals and clear these entities out of your life. I actually was in an immense state of grace all the time. I didn't really pay attention to mainstream cultural things. I don't believe like everything the media tells you, especially with the fear and everything going on right now. I can tell you exactly what I believe that to be, as well, if you want to hear more about that.
Well, Teresa, what I'm curious about, if you don't mind if I jump in, are you? This is an amazing story, and it reminds me a little bit of a passage in 1 Peter, I believe, chapter 3, where he says God's patience is the purpose of God's patience is for your salvation. God is patient. God is merciful. He's very gentle. I know myself, when I was in my early 20s, I told God, I said, look, God, I'm going to go off and do my own thing right now. Don't let go of me. See, I don't recommend that you don't try this at home, is the category that falls under. But are you practicing Catholic right now, Teresa?
Well, I'm Christian. I would say I'm non-denominational Christian, but I'm very inspired by the Bible, the words of the Bible. But I still have some. I know it's been altered over the years. But what I will say that is the most important thing, because what I did was I had learned. I chose to learn about darkness. Well, that opened a whole other set of doors for me that, I was like, I've never had this bad luck, like bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. And I was like, I said I wanted to learn about darkness, and here it is. And it's taken me up until, sometimes it takes a little while for these things to catch up with you. And this anger got a hold of me. And then all of a sudden I lost the glow last year. And so I was like, right before that happened, I was like, I'm being called. I know I'm being called. And so, and then now I know why. And what it sent me through this year was learning about some hidden stories about Jesus, and his real name, Yeshua. And there was actually 3 men involved in that story, which if you want to know about
Teresa,
that.
no, we unfortunately we don't have time to go too far down any of those paths. But what is on my heart right now, Teresa, is you said you were born into the Catholic Church, you were baptized as a Catholic, you had a strong Catholic family. Those are your roots, Teresa. Those are your roots. And you talked about, after messing with the Ouija board and looking into darkness and things like that, God sort of lifted those things or closed those doors, or however you put it. But the one true way to know that you can be healed of that, you can be moved on from that, and that it's not going to bother you anymore, is by going to sacramental confession. And it's on my heart, Teresa, to encourage you. Maybe find your nearest Catholic priest at your nearest parish and just sit down and share this amazing journey with him and say, Father, I'm really looking. I really want to do God's will. And one of the things he may do, Debbie, is to simply offer Teresa the opportunity to go to confession, since you've been away from the church for a long time. And, I one time had to confess when we were kids, we got a Ouija board as a family, and I much later in life, decades later, I took that to confession. So
well, I'm glad you brought that up about the sacrament of reconciliation, because it is a healing sacrament, Teresa. And given that you are a baptized Catholic, I think that you shared that at the beginning of your call. I agree with Jerry. If you could make an appointment and sit down with a parish priest or deacon and tell them your story, you have a very interesting story. And I think that there's ways that you can continue that journey and of growth and healing, because you have that thirst, you have that hunger, you can hear it, okay? And the good Lord is going to put people into your path that are going to help you get closer to Him, and that's what we want for you. And so it's and thank you for sharing with us your part of your story. I mean, I wish we could get to all of it, but I agree with Jerry. I think if you spent that one-on-one time and shared with somebody from the Catholic Church, they may offer you some additional healing opportunities, like the sacrament of confession. So we'll be praying for that. Keep us posted, Teresa. You can always email us at take2@ewtn.com.
All right, Teresa, thanks. We want to try to get to a few more calls here before we wrap up this episode of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Before we do that, I want to tell you about a show that I just love, and I also love being asked to fill in for the host, Cresta in the afternoon. I will be hosting for Al Cresta this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Al and his guests, and in this case today, I will be talking about today's news and the things that matter most. I have always considered Cresta in the afternoon to be one of the most important shows on Catholic radio, because Al, he is well read in the faith, he's well versed in culture and the things going on in the world. So tune in, and you'll hear me this afternoon. Don't let that deter you from tuning in. This afternoon at 4 Eastern Time, Cresta in the afternoon on many of these same EWTN stations.
I love that show as well. So great show. Okay, we're going to Hannah in Toledo, Ohio. Annunciation Radio is the way she's listening, and it's a first-time caller. Hi, Hannah. Thank you for waiting, and welcome.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? Did I pronounce your first name okay? Because I have a friend, and she actually goes by Hannah.
Yeah, no, you pronounced it right. It's Hannah.
Okay, cool. So take it away.
Yeah, it's so good to talk to you guys. When I heard that this was the topic, I was like, this is perfect for me. I actually got confirmed last year. So it was during COVID, but I couldn't get confirmed during Easter Vigil because everything was shut down. So they opened up the church special for us like around June-ish, and I got confirmed. I was actually baptized Catholic. I was raised Catholic, but around like middle school age, I really just didn't see faith as a priority. I had my child version of my faith, and it didn't grow with me, and I didn't understand the gravity of it, and I just wasn't interested. And my mom, God bless her, she decided, she was wrestling with the decision whether to force me to get confirmed or not, and she decided she would let me choose. And I know you guys talked earlier to people about letting people go, and I really feel like that was the best decision she made, because getting to choose to be confirmed later in life was such a blessing, and it just was so powerful and meaningful to me. And then as I was in high school and beginning college, I considered myself atheist. I didn't believe, and through an unexpected pregnancy and even considering abortion with my first daughter in a really tough relationship, I just found that I eventually chose life, and there were so many little things put in my path. Like my mother gave me a miraculous medal, and I wore it every day, you know, not being Catholic and not being even religious, but I did it for her. And I was considering abortion. I lost my miraculous medal, and then the day I chose life and I decided to not show up to that appointment, I found, you know, Mary. I found my medal. And Mary was just so influential in my decision and in the months after that. And then when my daughter was born, she just had this affinity for Mary, and her middle name is Mary. And she was just always drawn to her, and it was so beautiful and inspiring. And I was going to church, but I wasn't getting confirmed. I wasn't really I was like, oh, I'll go with my mom, you know. And she recommended me talk to a priest about going through RCIA, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go through it. And I went through it, and it was just beautiful. And all the things that were leading up to that point, like my decision for life, my daughters, like, being drawn to the faith and to Mary, and all of it just came to a head at RCIA. And I was just like, this is what I've been looking for, and why, my soul has felt a little empty. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience.
Wow. Hannah, that is what a very, very touching story, a beautiful story. Again, a great testimony to how God leads us. He's not a rude God. He's not a pushy God, but he's always right there, kind of nudging us in this direction or that direction. And your life has to be so much more fulfilled right now, obviously, since you kept your baby. And I love the Mary connection there with the miraculous medal. The saints really do have an interest in us, and they care about us, and God allows them to intercede for us. Mm-hmm. And it's really, Debbie, it's unquestionably the case that our Blessed Mother took Hannah and her little baby into her motherly mantle, and look what has come out of all of that.
Absolutely, and I love the way you honored your mother, Hannah, by carrying that miraculous medal, even because you did it out of the love you have for your earthly mother, right? But little did you know that your spiritual mother was taking hold, and she was. And see, I just could feel the Holy Spirit on that one. That was, yeah. Hannah, there's a lot more of your story. You need to get this written down. Your story is I just feel it's going to have an impact on a lot of people. So I don't know if you're journaling this or putting it down, even if it's just for your daughter. There's a reason that you shared it today. Or do you ever feel that way?
I do. I work a lot now in the pro-life movement, and I feel like that connection is so powerful, and I want to share my story, and I want to help other people in that position, whether it's, the pro-life side of it or just the spiritual side, and coming to the Catholic Church and sharing that part of it too. I really would love that.
Yeah, please do it. I feel strongly that you need to get your story down. And also, too, you're listening on a great a local station, Annunciation Radio. Contact the fine folks there at Annunciation Radio. Maybe get your testimony down and that they can share. That's a great way to get your story out there. Because, see, your story is going to help many other souls. There's other women that were in the same position as you, okay, with their pregnancy. And so this is huge. And so your work is just beginning, Hannah. It's just beginning. And God's got great things in store, and we want to be part of it. So keep us posted, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Bless your heart, Hannah. Thanks for taking the time to call in and share with us today. We only have 1 minute to go until we hear the music to close the program. So, unfortunately, Beverly and Sandy and Stephen, I wish we were going to get to you. We will do this topic again sometime, maybe next year. Who knows when? But we do have a couple of social media comments real quick. William, who is watching the video stream on YouTube, says, "It was different for me when I became Catholic last Easter after COVID first hit. I had to wait till June. But it was my old girlfriend that started the process, as she is a Catholic and started going to my local Catholic church here. Then one day I felt it was like I was finally home," like you were talking about earlier, Debbie.
Yeah, we hear. And also, too, if you're interested in the Catholic Church, go visit CatholicsComeHome. Is it com or org? Org. CatholicsComeHome.org. Tom Peterson, the ministry is growing. It's wonderful. CatholicsComeHome.org. Please visit it. They have great resources there, and that could be what your first steps into Holy Mother Church.
April, also watching on YouTube, says, "I became Catholic last year in the beginning of the pandemic. Only my fiance came. It was such a small ceremony because the church only allowed 20-something people, and it was last minute, not Easter. And all I heard was, quote, 'Trust your mother,' end quote. And I just knew in my heart it was not my earthly mother." So she's referring to our Blessed Mother, or the church as her mother. Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thanks, you guys. This was a great, great conversation, discussion. I think we learned, we grew. This is what Take Two is all about. And tomorrow, Jerry, we're going to be talking about adoption.
That's right. That's right. If you were placed for adoption as a baby, maybe as a maybe an adolescent, if you were adopted into another family, we want to hear how beautiful that was for you. Maybe there was some pain along the way, but we're going to talk about that here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. St. Joseph, pray for us.
Dr. Ray Guarendi, making a commitment to the why.